the soft glow of candlelight, the air was thick with the scent of unleavened bread and wine as Jesus gathered with his disciples for the Last Supper. It was a time of reflection, an intimate moment shared among friends who had journeyed together through trials and miracles. Yet beneath the surface of this sacred gathering, shadows of betrayal loomed. As they reclined at the table, Jesus broke the bread, a symbol of his body, and shared the wine, representing his blood. His voice was calm yet laden with an unspoken sorrow. "One of you will betray me," he said, casting a heavy silence over the room. The disciples exchanged anxious glances, their hearts racing with disbelief. Who among them could commit such an act? Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, felt the weight of his secret pressing down on him. He had already made his choice, striking a deal with the chief priests for 30 pieces of silver. The allure of wealth had clouded his judgment, tempting him to betray the very one who had shown him love and purpose. As Jesus spoke, Judas's heart raced not with guilt, but with a twisted sense of inevitability. "Is it I, Rabbi?" Judas asked, his voice barely a whisper, masking the turmoil within him. Jesus met his gaze with a profound sadness, replying, "You have said so." In that moment, Judas felt as if the ground beneath him was shifting. But he brushed aside his conscience, convinced that his actions would serve a greater purpose. After the meal, Jesus took his disciples to the Garden of Gethsemane, seeking solitude in prayer. He urged them to stay awake and keep watch, knowing the storm of betrayal was fast approaching. But fatigue weighed heavy on their eyes, and one by one, they succumbed to sleep. Judas, meanwhile, made his way to the temple, the silk clinking in his pocket, like a haunting reminder of his treachery. He arrived at the appointed place, where he would identify Jesus to the soldiers. As he approached, he felt a mixture of dread and determination. "The one I kiss is the man. Seize him," he instructed, his heart pounding. With a false sense of affection, Judas approached Jesus and kissed him on the cheek, a gesture of love turned into an act of betrayal. The soldiers moved, arresting Jesus in the stillness of the night. The disciples, awakened from their slumber, were struck with horror as they witnessed the scene unfold. Peter, in a fit of rage, drew his sword, striking one of the soldiers, but Jesus intervened, healing the wounded man and allowing the arrest to proceed. As Jesus was led away, Judas stood at a distance, a storm of emotions raging within him. The realization of his actions began to seep in, and the weight of his betrayal crushed his spirit. He had traded his master for silver, and the emptiness gnawed at him. In the days that followed, as the trial of Jesus unfolded, Judas watched helplessly as his friend was mocked, beaten, and condemned. The once vibrant hope he had felt alongside Jesus turned into despair. The silver coins, once gleaming tokens of his supposed gain, now felt like a curse. Haunted by his decision, Judas returned to the temple, throwing the silver at the feet of the chief priests. "I have sinned," he cried, "for I have betrayed innocent blood." But their indifference stung, and he was left alone, consumed by guilt and regret. In the dim light of a desolate place, Judas found himself at the end of his rope, both literally and figuratively. The weight of his betrayal felt insurmountable. Alone with his anguish, he hung himself, a tragic end to a life marked by choices that spiraled beyond his control. As the sun set on that fateful day, the world outside continued unaware, but in the depths of Judas's heart, a profound darkness lingered, a reminder of the cost of betrayal and the loss of a friendship that could have changed everything.